Anyone want me to read the pre-meeting announcements? Okay, we'll go on to general public comments. Any public comments for matters that are not on the agenda? Okay, the minutes from the May 8th meeting.
Those are not in our packet, correct?
Not in my packet. Well, then we'll skip this.
I apologize.
Unfinished business, SUB 25-34, Aaron Zirkle, 1220 Lyons Avenue.
Mr. President, do we need a motion to take it from the table?
Yes, we do. So moved.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous, let's...
All right, thank you, Mr. President. So I'm going to be following the slide deck that's in your green folder here. There's more reference material and pictures there, but the applicant is present. This is regarding the subdivision portion of property adjacent to 1220 Lyons Avenue. The map here shows the three parcels that are involved in the proposed subdivision and lot consolidation. Here is an aerial image taken from near method 1232 Lyons, which is the proposed subdivision, over approximately 14 to 15 feet, and then consolidation with the property at 1220 Lyons Avenue. This is the survey plat that's been updated by the applicant. 2 points of note is that the distance between the garage and the proposed new boundary line has increased from 3 foot to 5 foot, which is now compliant with the accessory structure code requirements. And the applicant is going to consolidate this piece of property with their existing, which we make both lots after the consolidation happens. Both of them would be compliant with the city's planning and zoning code. That concludes staff's report.
Okay, any questions for the planner? Does the applicant want to say anything? The applicant have anything? You want none of that? Okay. Any member of the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, staff comments, please.
Staff recommends approval of the proposed subdivision with one additional condition that's not listed in your packet, and that would be that the applicant provide staff with documentation that the adjacent property owner is agreeable to the proposed subdivision.
Okay.
Would that be an email or a phone call, or what are you looking for?
Email would suffice.
Okay, any discussion?
Which adjacent property owner?
Mr. Straffus, who owns the 1232 Lyons.
And if we don't get that, well, if we move to approve this subject to that condition, including the other conditions that are in the report,
Yes.
Where do we end up? And then the application is denied if Mr. Straffus doesn't agree to this.
Correct. I am assuming there's been conversations already between both parties, but I don't have documentation of it, and we'd like to have that as staff.
Can we ask the applicant if that's in fact the case?
Yes, there's been agreement between the two parties.
Good to go then?
Yeah.
Chair, ready for a motion?
I am.
Move for approval subject to the 3 staff conditions and the additional staff condition that we have a writing from the neighbor who agrees to the proposed subdivision. And my compliments to you, sir, for working with the staff and getting this to a little better form than we saw last time. Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay, next item, SUB 25-37, Robert Burns, 844 Riverview Drive.
All right, here is the proposed subdivision involving the 2 lots that are shown on the screen.
30, yeah.
The existing, 30 here.
Change the format on the...
Page 30 if you're counting.
Yes, page 30, starting there, sorry, yes. Big packet this time. Mr. Burns owns the property at 844 Riverview Drive, and currently the access to his property is by an easement, which is kind of shown in this area here,
Where the existing driveway is that comes off Riverview. So this is 844. This is the existing driveway that actually is owned by the adjacent property owner, but there's an easement. The applicant is requesting that that part of the property be subdivided and consolidated with his property.
and we'll show that. We can show that here in yellow, kind of the area that's to be subdivided from the house in the foreground, and then consolidated with the adjoining lot. And again, here's once the subdivision and consolidation were to happen, the parcels in blue as are shown would be the new configuration of both lots. While both parcels would not meet the minimum lot size requirements of 7,200 square feet, the applicant would need to seek variance relief from the Board of Zoning Appeals to meet this requirement. And that will conclude staff's report.
Just a question, when you say there's an easement, this is an easement of record, it's in the chain of title?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You say both do not meet the requirements, just one of them doesn't meet it?
It would be the minimum lot size requirement. So right now, let me go back to the screen here.
Looks like parcel 21, right?
Yes, so parcel 20 actually, currently as it is, meets the minimum lot size requirement. Parcel 21 does not. When that parcel is subdivided, then parcel 20 does not become compliant with the minimum lot provisions. If it's subdivided and consolidated with the adjoiner. So if you look on page 35 of your packet, it shows what the new, when the subdivision and lot consolidation happens, what the measurements are in terms of lot size, street frontage, and maximum coverage requirements.
Okay, so we're going from one non-compliant lot to two.
Correct. And that's why they'd have to seek variance from the city's Board of Zoning Appeals.
They being both parcels?
Yes, both parcels would need a variance, correct. And I don't know if the applicant is here, so.
Mr. President, may I ask a question? Sure. Ricky, has it always been the planning commission, always having to go to the BZA for these types of variance relief? Has it not been the planning commission that has the authority to grant those types of variances?
Correct.
Because I have one question, because there is a provision in the subdivision ordinance that does allow variances
Yes.
by the planning commission, especially for, should I wait until? No, okay, because I think, based off my reading, the interpretation of it is that there's limited circumstances where the planning commission is granted the authority to grant a variance under only the subdivision ordinance. Now, and I think it's for matters of topographic issues, and part of those variances can be specifically for the square footage requirements, or to be in compliance with the area of the lots. Has there been any, I guess with the city attorney or anyone else, that's the case, that it has to go to the BZA, or am I interpreting this incorrectly, or?
So the subdivision ordinance is old and outdated, right? Probably anytime there's variance relief needed, it needs to come from, if it was up to code today, would need to come from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
And that's state code?
Period, right. But the way our ordinance is structured, and the way we've interpreted is that if there's a specific design standard related to the saldo, then the planning commission can have purview. If it's related specifically to the zoning code, then the Board of Zoning Appeals needs to weigh in.
Even if the saldo does reference that specific standard in the zoning ordinance, I guess is my thing, how to kind of loop it
Yeah,
back in.
that's how we've treated it.
Okay, if that's always how it's been, I'm fine with it, but I just wanted to have that clarification.
That's why we need to get it.
Oh, that's a great point. It'd be nice if we had that
Sure,
authority in this
I agree.
case.
Any other questions?
Who is the applicant? Is it Robert Burns?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because that is not the name that we have on here as the applicant.
I apologize. In your packet, there is a new cover page that has the correct
Oh, okay. I just
owner's
wanted to
name on
make
the
sure I was
front.
understanding. Thanks.
Sorry, I didn't make
Said he
a comment.
wasn't here, I'm like, well,
I also have it highlighted. I was like, that's not right.
okay.
Any other questions? And the applicant's not here. You got anything else you want to say on behalf of the applicant, Ricky? Anything else you want to say on behalf of the applicant?
No, sir.
Okay. Any member of the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, staff recommendations, please.
Staff recommends approval with the conditions listed in your packet.
Any discussion?
If I could just make a comment that kind of goes into, so I do think, not to go against what what this commission has done, but I just want to voice that I do think there's a topographic condition that would allow this to be granted by this planning commission as a variance, but just to kind of put that in the minutes for the city attorney to kind of look into, especially as we're contemplating kind of fixing and shoring up our saldo. So that's it.
Go ahead. So in your staff recommendation, number 3, the applicant has to seek and grant variance release, but really we're talking about both the applicant and the other parcel, right? The 888 Riverview. They would have to also get variance release.
And they could do that jointly if they wanted to in an application, but yes. The other thing that the planning commission would have to consider, and it's mentioned in your packet, is the creation of what's considered a flag lot. Now with that, and that gets to what Brendan mentioned about the flag lot, and the planning commission can give, by our interpretation, a variance, or because of the topo issues on that particular issue, and that because that's related to the design standards in the SALDO, not necessarily in the city zoning code.
I guess my question also is who's going to tell 888 that they've got to file an application to pay some money to get zoning relief, the variance?
Hopefully the applicants, the property owners are working together on this.
Well, I'm sure they're working together, but I guess what I'm saying is, if we do this, all of a sudden we create somebody's non-conforming lot, and they have to come in here, or come to the Board of Zoning Appeals, somebody got to tell them they have to do that.
And just for discussion purposes, the applicant may take on that whole process on their own. That'd be up to them, but the application that would have to go to the BZA would be for variance relief for both parcels.
Right.
So again, we would want documentation that the property owner, the adjacent owner, is agreeable to everything.
And I don't disagree with you, but the application has to be made, I think, by the person who owns the property. Because it's their property right. So somebody has to give them the information that, hey, you have to come do this, or you have to have somebody do it on your behalf.
Yes, and sometimes we do have the case on the latter, it's on your behalf.
Okay.
As long as we have documentation of that, our office would be fine with it.
Okay.
Pragmatically, I mean, it makes sense. This is the way it is and the way they're living right now. But I am troubled by the fact that the President just alluded to, we're pulling the rug out from under the people who live at 888 Riverview, who are right now in compliance with the law, and they're about to not be because of something we do.
And going to have to pay an application fee.
I don't like it at all.
I'm a little bit troubled by that.
I am too.
Ricky, has this been used as their driveway for a long time? Do you know how, like,
I
this
don't.
isn't new? Do you
No, it's in the
what
deed of record.
I'm sorry?
The easement that's there currently is in their deed. I'm not sure how long it's been there, but I imagine it's been there for quite some time because the way the garage faces at 844, the only access is up that driveway.
And that was my question. Does it lead to a garage? Usually I go out and look when I have questions, but
Yes.
based on timeline, I did not have time to do that today.
So 888's access to their garage is here on Fairfax, and then the garage here is on the lower portion of the home.
Okay, so it is a garage down there. This isn't just what they're using as off-street parking. It leads to a garage.
It's working the way it is right now.
Yeah, right.
Just speaking for myself, I'm not in favor of this unless we have a visit from the owner of 888 Riverview Drive.
I agree.
I think this is an ambush.
I mean, it may or may not be an ambush, but I want to know whether it is or isn't from the owner of 888.
If the applicant got some sort of correspondence from the property owner that they're aware of this, and I'm sure they are, would that suffice, or would you still want?
Oh, they don't have to appear in person.
Right, yeah, if they say,
They just
yes,
need to have some evidence they're aware of it.
And we understand where you have to go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and seek a variance. Yes.
That's the first condition. We could clarify it a little bit more if we want. It says the applicant provides documentation that the adjoining property owner is agreeable to the proposed subdivision and required variance relief from the BZA.
Number 2 then would change the applicant and the adjoining parcel owner.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's a good condition. Thank you for doing that, Ricky. and then just amend that second one for the applicant and the adjoining property owner.
Got it.
Mr. President, may I ask another question? Just
Absolutely.
for the gentleman, with that, I think it's a concern that's shared amongst this commission. If for future, since it's an affected party, if we just have applicants, or both affected parties sign on behalf of the application, so you have one fee, one application with that?
Well, so, and I don't know the city ordinance as well as I should, but and Mr. Higgins could probably correct me on that. But I would think that if you're asking for two different lots to get something, you're going to have to pay two separate fees, one for each lot. But I think as far as coming before the commission saying we want to do this, if we get a letter from the adjoining property owner saying, I'm aware, I agree, I'm going to do this.
I understand the implications here.
I'm stuck on the motive as well. I mean, if the easement's in the chain of title and it's working now, what?
Right.
Me too.
Why is this?
So we look at motive on these, that's,
Yeah, well, fair point.
I wonder that too, but it's not.
It's not in our, yeah, it's not in our wheelhouse, I agree.
I would say that it's probably going to be sold because the owner of 888 passed away back in October. And so I would say that,
Well, the easement's still
They're
a
looking
record.
to make something like very permanent, like,
right, maybe, yeah, because long story short, I'm sure the person that has received it doesn't even live in Morgantown, so I would say, just for my snooping around.
Deep dive.
Just my diving,
Impressive.
I would say that they're going to sell it, and so the other owner wants to make sure that,
it's almost like she works in the county tax office.
You wonder where she'll
Let me confirm.
do the public comments yet?
yeah, I think we
Yes, I think you did.
Okay.
You asked for the,
Yeah, we're back to,
Okay, we were at the staff recommendation.
Staff would like to clarify, I went into Google Earth real quick to double check the garage. It looks like there appears to be what was to be a garage, but it has been filled in. So there's a deck which is shown on the plat.
That's different.
so it's not leading, this is them just wanting off-street parking then?
Which
It's
they-
not access to a garage.
Yeah, so there's a deck.
That's a little bit different.
That's different to me.
There's a deck, and then there's a door underneath there, and then underneath this portion of the home, looks like where they had filled in something. There was an opening, they filled it in, and then now there's a door there.
Just wanted to clarify.
Thank you.
Easement looks good to me.
I'm disappointed that the applicant's not here to explain this to us, and with that, I'm not inclined to support this until we can hear from the applicant and understand what we're trying to accomplish here. But someone else wants to make a motion, I'm not going to.
I'm ready to make a motion to that effect.
Table or
So
take
we'll table?
action, or?
I would deny the application so far as, I mean, is there any penalty if we deny? Do they have a waiting period or to come back?
Typically, there is.
Sure.
So maybe the recommendation would be to table.
Okay.
And give them an opportunity to come back.
That's fair, if that works for me.
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, a motion, second, table, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you for looking that up quickly, that was,
that's helpful.
there's a reason I asked if it was leading to the garage.
Understood.
Okay, next item is SUB 25-38, Linda and Donald Waycaster,
Page 41.
1479 Tremont. You're saying numbers, but I'm trying to say numbers and it's not working.
So here's an aerial view of the parcel viewer map. The property owner owns actually both lots. It's in common ownership, but the property on the left, the newer structure that's on the left-hand side of the left parcel was actually a family member lives and I believe built that structure. When that happened, there are several amenities on the property that are cross the line, and so the applicant is trying to rectify that issue now. This is the survey plat that was provided. The area in yellow is the portion of property to be subdivided from the parcel on the left-hand side, from the right-hand side, and dedicated to the parcel on the left-hand side. The issue is with the amenities or accessory structure, uncovered porch, stairs that are pretty close to where this new property line would be. And this is a picture from the back side of the property looking down, which the new property line, as I read it from the plat, will basically run right along here and all the way down to Tremont. This is the staircase that's referenced in the plat, this is the shed, this is the patio, and then this is the swing set. So the property line would be...
Can you point to the staircase again? What staircase?
Right between the shed and here. There's a stone wall and a staircase that leads up that gives them access to the back part of their property.
Ricky, just to clarify, that other set of stairs that goes like that alleyway, that's not contemplated in that setback requirement?
The one over to be the right-hand side, or?
It's like closer to, it looks like, I think it's an alleyway or street that's, the house backs up to. There's a set of stairs there. Is that's a...
That's not correct.
Thank you.
And so while the creation of the subdivision would create two lots that are conforming, the issue in this case is the accessory structures.
Well, wouldn't it be under their obligation to tell us that they are, that they meet the setback?
Yes, that's what, correct.
And they didn't do that.
No, it's not on the plat.
I have highlighted, like, what is not known from the survey plat is if the accessory structures are at least 5 feet from the proposed property line and the uncovered stone stairs are at least 3 feet from the, that seems like information that could have been presented and given to us ahead of time.
Yes.
Setbacks are a big part of what we do. We delayed looking at our first case tonight, our unfinished business, because we didn't know what the setback of that garage was, and here we are again, we don't know what the setback is.
Yes, it's not listed.
Okay, is the applicant here?
The applicant is not here, but they gave me the permission to answer any questions, which I'm not going to be able to answer in that regard.
Okay. Concern, I have concerns.
Same.
I mean, we seem to be getting a lot of incomplete applications,
Yes.
which is bothersome. I mean, we have a code for a reason, and...
And setbacks are important. We're
Yeah,
talking about dense property lines.
Yeah, and it can be read, and we have to know that.
Well, you see where staff has tried to handle that in their recommendation.
Yeah, but that's
Not backing into it, so.
Yeah, but to me, that's not how we do it.
Yeah, I agree.
You come to us with all the information we need, not, hey, okay, we'll grant it, and then we'll figure out later if it actually meets it or not.
We're going to have a public hearing on this?
We are, I'm just venting now. Okay. Do you have anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Any member of the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, staff recommendations, please.
Staff recommended approval with the conditions listed in the packet, either getting to show compliance with the required setbacks or seeking variance relief for said setbacks.
Any discussion?
Move to table, subject to more information on the actual condition of the setback distances.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? And that's unanimous. At least we're going to have a meeting next month, right?
Guess we better put it on the calendar.
Okay, next item on the agenda is SUB 25-41 Ryan McLeod, 204 Kingwood Street.
And the applicant and adjacent property owner are here tonight. So this is an aerial view of the two lots, one that fronts on Coburn Street, the other that fronts on Kingwood Avenue. Here's a Google Street View of the properties. The garage apartment is on the left-hand side, 350 Coburn's on the right-hand side. And this image basically shows what the applicant is requesting, basically to move the current boundary line that's referenced in the deeds southward towards the garage apartment, because right now the residence at 350 encroaches into the property at 204 Kingwood. Here's the survey plat that was provided. There's no evidence that it, at least to my knowledge, and the applicant, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that this has ever been recorded, or that that it was ever reviewed by a planning commission at the time. This particular plat is dated December of 2016. And here's the proposed subdivision and lot consolidation or boundary adjustment, as shown in the blue. And the two areas of concern that staff mentioned in the, or referenced in the staff report is, one is this area where there's basically a 3-foot easement, a 1.5 feet for each side of the property line, an access easement as it's noted on the plat, and then this area to the south, which may not necessarily involve the subdivision, but there's what's an area called an apparent overlap. And so I reached out to the folks who now own Greenleaf Surveying, or who's taken over his book of business since he's retired, and they weren't able to provide any information before this meeting regarding those two particular matters. But as staff referenced in the packet, it would create several nonconformities with respect to side lot setbacks, and those referenced in your packet. And now concludes staff's report.
Are there already nonconformities with the side lot setbacks?
Yes, there's encroachment now. If we look at the way the lot and the parcel rear map, there is encroachments now. The subdivision, getting that officially done, would actually subdivide the property between the two structures, but because of like the covered but not enclosed porch on 350 Coben and the proximity of the garage apartment to the new lot line, there need to be variance relief granted. So there need to be a setback variance is granted. There would need to be accessory structure or encroachment granted as well.
I have a question for staff. Please. Ricky, so this is a proposed plat, correct? It's not showing the current conditions as they are. This, in our packet, is what the applicant is showing they wish to adjust the lot lines?
Correct.
It is stamped by a licensed surveyor representing that this is the current condition?
This is what they're wanting to do.
Okay.
And it's stamped from 2016.
Okay, so that surveyor is since retired?
Correct.
Basically, okay. Okay, thank you.
Is this when I should ask questions about
Please.
my highlights here?
Please.
So on page 56 and 57 of the packet, number 1, the thing says, more information is needed to determine compliance for both properties. Number 2, this requirement does not appear to be an issue. We get down to D, the mechanical units for HVAC were not shown on the current plat map. Like, it seems incomplete to me again. And these properties are extraordinarily close together, so, it also, I noted that it's set, like, under staff recommendation, the applicant demonstrates that the adjoining property owner at 350 Coben is agreeable. That should be discussed. Every issue we've talked about tonight is also applicable in this case.
Are they here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Applicants here?
So,
They're here.
Applicant, adjoining neighbor.
Come on up, one at a time.
Hey, that will just take care of one.
Yeah, so I can answer probably a lot of those things.
Sure.
I am Jen Haggerty. I'm here for Ryan McLeod. I'm his real estate agent, getting ready to sell this property for the second time, by the way.
From 2016 was the first.
No, 2016 is when the neighbor at 350 Coben purchased the property with the understanding that the properties were already separate.
Okay.
So he bought 350 Coben. The seller at the time, Kitzmiller,
Yes.
kept the garage and rented it as an apartment. The current applicant, Ryan McLeod, purchased it in 2020. as a separate unit, went to closing. It was during COVID, so something probably was missed there to pick up whatever happened since 2016, when we know that the neighbor had the survey done and is agreeable to the separation because he's standing right here.
Right, so we had the survey done. My wife and I bought 350 Coleman Avenue, the main house, in 2016. And at that time, up to that point, the house and the carriage house had been one unit that conveyed together, probably since the carriage house was built in 1920. The owner, in a savvy business move, thought that he could sell both of them separately for more than he could together. So sometime before 2016, when we bought our house, he had those two parcels separated into 437 for 350 Copeland and 438 for the carriage house. That this survey was the result of those two.
That separation was never recorded? Is that,
It's referenced in the deeds, but going back to, I believe, 2009, that garage apartment's been on record as being its own parcel.
okay.
So, yes, during our closing, or our title attorney made an error and switched the deeds from 437 to 438 so that we were getting a very small tax bill and the carriage house was getting a very large one. So this survey was a result of that finding and the correction of the deed in 2016, January 2017. But yes, we bought our house first, then 4 years later, Kitzmiller would own both of them, sold the carriage house to the current owners.
That was in 2020. And I happened to have, up until September, owned 2012 and 2014, which is
The house just outside.
where the yellow mark is.
Yes.
I did provide Mr. Yeager today with the easement that is deeded and recorded between those two properties. Between what is now the carriage house and the adjacent to the left. So where you see the grass on the left, there is an encroachment plan recorded. So, just taking everything into consideration, the easement has been there since 1986. The tax tickets have been separated since 2009. 204 Kingwood, I noticed today, and I have this if you need it, is on the National Register of Historic Places as its own property. There's a survey, and a few of these things you might not have because I just gave them as I walk in, including the encroachment. There's a survey for 204 Kingwood, a survey for 212, 214, and a survey for 350 Coben. Unfortunately, and I also called Greenleaf today, and he told me he had already talked to you, but he has no way of coming up with the original deed because he is retired.
He's like, not my problem.
Right. As far as, and also in the recommendations I handed in today, we have a letter from MUB, saying that it is on its own water sewer system.
Okay.
Turned in, and letter from the neighbor and him in person. The new owners of 2014, 2012 are also, or 20, I can't remember. No, to the left, are also aware, because that's where I got the encroachment, because I had handled all that paperwork to her, and I went and picked it up from her today. And I don't know what else to say. Oh, the thing with the utilities, with the heat,
Yeah, it says HVAC mechanical
there
units
is
are
no
not
air
shown.
conditioning, so there's no HVAC, there's no condenser sitting outside of the building anywhere on 204, so there wouldn't be anything encroaching in that respect.
Great.
The furnace is inside in the garage, in a room contained.
That's why it's useful to have the applicants here. Just answered all of my questions.
And, yeah, we don't have central AC either. You can see the window units, so yeah, there's no HVAC.
It would be really nice if you didn't have to pay for yet a 10 survey in order to get it closed.
But it was always our understanding when we bought that line down the middle of our sidewalk, that if we needed to get back there to service something, that we could. It's actually a walkway to their entrance, their back entrance to the carriage house. So they have obvious access. We never even conceived that there was some issue with any of the the lines because once the taxes were fixed and the deeds were fixed, we assumed Morgantown was included.
We just found out shockingly.
So today, how the, kind of looks like, at least the GIS, it looks like the property line actually runs through your house, is that correct?
That was...
I mean, these things aren't 100% accurate. Yeah, okay.
Well, and how accurate is that?
No, yeah, I'm just saying, yeah.
So in the deed, it's written that there's an exception, so it describes the like on Kingwood, it's like 83 feet, and then there's an exception.
I gotcha.
Which is the 204 Kingwood property.
At least 2009.
Yeah.
2009 is when it was deeded, that's when the tax tickets go back to.
Sure.
Right.
Do you have anything, do you know about the application, at least for when it was on the National Historic Registry, when that was done, just since you said it was two separate
I
parcels?
have the National Historic, I just pulled this out of my own stuff, and
Sure.
I didn't read it too carefully, except for that I was trying to see, because it was
No, I
in
understand.
there, I know that 212, 214 was on there, so I wanted to see if
Sure.
204 Kingwood is. I don't know what year this is from, but if you want this, you have it. I
Take a peek.
noticed that it was on there as a zone property. I don't understand though.
Sure.
I didn't dig through that today because that happened about 10 minutes before I got here after I picked up
Not a
the
problem.
easement.
This is 1990.
Oh, well.
And I didn't get this to you if you wanted.
Thank you. Yeah, sure.
If you could just email him a copy back for the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can keep the original.
It's not the original. It's a copy.
You can keep your copy, or whatever you want to do. How about that? As long as he has a
I
copy.
handed him all the other copies when I came in. I just didn't think about that one. Any other questions?
I was going to say, any other questions to the applicants? Applicants? No? Okay, thank you very much. It was very helpful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any member of the audience who would like to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, staff recommendations, please.
Staff did not object to the applicant's request for the subdivision or to address a longstanding issue of the property being subdivided and sold without review or approval by the city of Morgantown. And then as such, if the planning commission desires to approve the minor subdivision, staff recommends the conditions in your packet, which some has been addressed as mentioned by the applicant.
Yep.
Number 1 and number 4, at least already taken care
Well,
of.
and number 3 may be addressed as well, but I have to go through the information provided.
Any discussion?
This is a case where the applicant in very good faith is trying to clean up a mess that he didn't, or they didn't cause. And we appreciate that good faith and your time here with us tonight. Move for approval subject to staff conditions.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor? And that looks unanimous. Okay, next item on the agenda, City of Morgantown, SUV 25-46, City of Morgantown, Marilla Park.
So the city is requesting to subdivide a portion of parcel 203, which is shown in blue here on the aerial map, and consolidate it with parcels 201 and 202. In doing so, the applicant will create 2 new parcels of land that are shown here in the blue, which I labeled parcel A, and parcel B being the one in green. The yellow area shaded here is what was already subdivided and approved by the Planning Commission, and then the property deeded to the Municipal Building Commission previously, I believe in 2013. So that was already then taken effect. So the residual parcels, after review, will both be compliant in terms of lot size requirements. And that concludes staff's report.
Any questions for the planner? Applicant? I guess I'll recognize you, Steve.
So I am here on behalf of the city of Morgantown, and the pool parcel, the current pool parcel, was approved in '23, I think Mr. Yeager mentioned 13. And that was part of parcel 203. So what we have up here, parcel A, is what we are seeking to accomplished today. So we're seeking to subdivide an additional piece out of parcel 203, which is part of parcel A. And we're going to combine that with the Marilla Center, which is parcel 201, which is there it is, Mr. Yeager's pointing to that, and parcel 202, which is where the current skate park is. So we want to combine a portion of 203 with 201 and 202. And also, Mr. Yeager, can you move that cursor to the left?
I can't see his cursor anyway, so you can do whatever you want with it.
Sorry, I don't like myself.
So right now, that is an unimproved piece. It lies next to the skate park. The tennis courts, as I understand them, are going to go in that location. And so all of this is part of the next phase of the Marilla construction project. So there are going to be pickleball courts there, new tennis courts, basketball courts, a new skate park, and other amenities. And so what my intention is, right now the city owns all of this real estate, would be to obtain the approval to subdivide and combine the parcels, and our bond transaction is scheduled to close within the next few weeks. Once we have financing in place, our contractor is going to be ready to go. That selection was made yesterday. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
One that's not pertinent to this, where the tennis courts are now, and the old pool, and the baseball field that was there, what's going to go on down there?
Pickleball, skateboard park down there.
I can give you the rundown of what Marilla Park is going to
I
look
want to
like.
put it on the spot.
Is there going to be any more parking?
So the upshot, Steve, with regard to the financing and the project, is time is of the essence. We need to move on.
Time is of the essence, right. And to make all of this happen, I need to get the approval. And at closing, the city will actually be conveying this new parcel to the Morgantown Building Commission, so it can be the grantor under the bond transaction. And then the property will be leased back to the city of Morgantown. That's how we arranged for the pool complex transaction and other refinance, bond transaction financing.
Any questions for the applicant?
Any other questions? Thank you.
Discussion? Nope. Okay, any member of the audience that like to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, staff recommendation, please.
Staff recommends approval. Note item 1 has already been addressed, we received that today. And then we also received 3 original copies of the plat, which we will review. So subject to conditions 2 and 3, staff recommends approval.
Discussion?
Move for approval, subject to staff conditions.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, next item is SUB 25-51 M.W. Clark Construction LLC, Spring Branch Road.
So again, referring to the slides in your packet and what's on the screen, this is parcel 99. The applicant is requesting that to be subdivided into 3 lots for the purpose of building new single-family homes in the future. You can see here, this is kind of like obviously we know where this is located, Willowdale and Spring Branch Road, and there's obviously a change of elevation in that location, but the area that is highlighted in red is the approximate area on the area map where this parcel is located now. And the applicant provided this reference materials to show basically that the lot lines would go back to, if subdivided, what was previously there. And then after review, it appears that the proposed subdivision will be compliant with the minimum lot requirements for the zoning code, with the exception being is that the preference or I shouldn't say preference because the word is shall, but the double frontage requirement that we've seen in other applications with Willowdale and Spring Branch. Again, Planning Commission has the ability to grant that variance specifically in our opinion, and so that's why it's part of the application. That will include staff's report.
Any questions for the planner? Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
You want to say anything else? If you do, you have to come to the microphone. I'm gonna make you get
Signed in already, so.
Very well.
Thanks.
No, that was the original plat, which I'm just gonna take it back, they had it as one. There was an existing home there. And then, since I'm standing here, on the other plat is going back to the existing three that it was as well. Those were two homes. Actually, the first plat was my grandparents, and when they passed, I took that from the estate, the three daughters, and the Christians who were next door, we were really close friends. When they passed, I took that. Now, the houses were just in terrible shape, unfortunately. They had bad bones. So I took them down. I actually was approved to build them in 2017. That's when my father got sick, so obviously my attentions went elsewhere at that point in time, and here I'm revisiting. It's pretty cut and dry. Utilities run on Spring Branch, water, gas, sewers in the back, and is accessible. All the roads, the driveways would come off of Spring Branch, so they have access on two sides of Willowdale, or even Spring Street, so I don't think congestion will be a problem. I think it's going to be a really nice little community of some nice homes over there.
Any questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any discussion real quick?
Hold on, I have a
Sure.
question.
For the applicant?
I don't
For anybody? Just throwing it out there.
The measurement was not provided for the street frontage of each lot.
Correct, we're at the conceptual phase right now, so yes.
Okay, so,
That's one of that staff's recommendations, is that would all have to be proven true once an actual survey is done, that it meets all those requirements.
okay. And on the next page of our packet, which would be page 80,
80?
80 of our packet, talking about the proposed subdivision appears to be consistent with the lot provisions, however, proposal not consistent with the following design standard, that all sidelines of lots shall be at right angles to the street lines, is, based on what it looked like was being shown here, that didn't seem like it was an issue. Is that an issue
That's-
here?
So, that is not an issue here, it's meant for the next application, my
Okay.
apologies.
I also had it, I was like,
Good-
okay.
Good, yes,
So there's no variance being sought, is that?
correct,
Okay.
as it's planned now. Yep.
Perfect, thank you.
I thought this one looked pretty standard,
Yeah.
like it
Yes.
used to. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I believe each lot sizes will be 4,500 square feet, which exceeds the minimum requirement of 3,500 in the R1A, so yes.
So this piece of property theoretically is large enough, if it's split into three, again, the frontage and the square footage of the total lots should be able to comply.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Theoretically, there's enough space there for three lots.
Yeah, it won't
of
maybe be
compliance.
a large house, but yes, I mean, there's room to do that. The other thing the staff wanted to bring up is the change of elevation actually from Spring Branch down onto the properties, and the applicant just mentioned it, and it's highlighted here. So, that one thing is, maybe the applicant could address would be like the access, right? Would it come directly off Spring Branch? And really, that's maybe not even the planning commission's purview at this point, because it depends on how the property gets graded in the future. But that's one thing staff would, just note that there may be, I don't know if there'd be potentially shared access drive because of that change in the topo or not, but again, probably not our purview at this point. It'd be something we deal at the building permit stage.
Okay, I'll ask anyway. Any member of the audience would like to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, staff recommendation.
Staff recommends approval with the conditions listed in your packet, which will also involve, obviously, a survey being completed, checking that everything meets the zoning code and design standards.
Sorry, Ricky. Recommendation number 1 is basically, we can axe that one, because there's no variance being sought.
Sorry, my apologies.
Sure.
Clarification, no variance is being sought with the Board of Zoning Appeals, but the Planning Commission does need to grant a variance for the double lot frontage.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yep.
Such a weird provision that,
It's,
yeah.
except for, along, if you're on a major corridor, which this is not considered in the classification scheme, there's an exception for that.
Right.
But minor lots, it is.
Okay. So you're saying that we're leaving, there is zoning variance from the planning commission, so we're fine with, your staff is fine with leaving number 1 in there, correct?
Yes, so that condition, that basically the planning commission is granting a variance to the double lot frontage requirement.
Any other questions? We did staff recommendations. Okay, discussion?
Move to approve with staff conditions?
Second?
Motion is second, all in favor? That's unanimous?
Good luck with your project.
He's sticking with it.
Yeah. M.W. Clark Construction, LLC, Spring Branch Road.
May I speak from here, or is that?
Well, he's got to do his thing first, and then you have to stand up.
So same situation, there's existing 2 lots, wanting to subdivide them into 3. Looking, here's what the applicant provided, basically taking again back to what was previously there. In terms of the zoning requirements, the lot frontages and square footage requirements should all be met. The only thing in the terms of the, and thanks to Councilor Trumbull for noting that, is on page 91 of your packet, the variances that would need to be granted is regarding the, all side lot lines shall be at right angles to street lines, and the corner lots as at street intersections will need to be addressed there, as well as the double frontage requirement. And it's actually interesting, the zoning, this out of, actually allows for when the house gets built, or if it gets built, to be moved, because this would be considered potentially the entire lot frontage, so the way that it's oriented. So it gives the developer more flexibility in that regard.
And all the lots are going to meet the number requirements, right?
Yes.
Okay.
They could. Okay. Go ahead, applicants, come on up.
Okay, great. Hey, well, actually, I mean, for this particular piece of property, this is what was approved first. And I actually had it stamped from CTL showing that everything was copacetic with the city. But the only thing is that corner piece, you know, everything is on right angles to Spring Branch, but that corner piece, I want to say was deeded to the city from my grandfather for greenery. And that's what we want to do with it now. We want to keep it greenery, because if you come around Willowdale, I don't want that to be an obstruction for people to come. So in all reality, we would not be building in that area or having access through that area. It's a nice green space, which will look good there. That's all I wanted to add. But the variance portion, I guess, is because Willowdale curves, but again, everything is 90 degree to the Spring Branch Road, which is where the homes will be accessed from. Okay, thanks, guys.
So separating this into 3 parcels, theoretically, you would anticipate only building on 2?
No, it'll be 6 completed parcels with 6 small homes.
Okay.
I'm not sure how the platting system worked when they had done this, because my grandparents' house was on 2 plats. This one in the center was 99, the one over here was 100, but then this went to 90. It was so odd. And I have 3 tax tickets, but it's basically going right back to the original plats before they purchased in 1953. And if you want to see something cool, I have the original deed.
I guess I was just misunderstanding. I understand the first case we saw
Yeah, the first one
was 3 of them.
Major subdivision, but then it was minor, and then it was major, and then it was minor.
So what were you saying will remain green space, I guess is my question.
The green space would actually be, if Ricky would go back, do you see where the sign is? Right here, I'll just walk over here.
I can't.
This is where you come off from Spring Branch. The property pins that CTL put are actually back in here. Okay, so the first lot, which would be actually the lot 9, doesn't begin until back up in here. So all of this in here is going to be green space.
Okay.
There will not be a house or a garage or a drive coming in there. You will actually have to get up off of Spring Branch Road to be able to pull.
Okay.
Is that still owned by the city? Because you said your grandfather deeded it to the city. Is the city-
I believe so, because when CTL did this in 2017 for me, they had set the pins, and the pins are reset. I actually was there weed eating yesterday, and I found all the pins that they set, and it's an easy 30 feet of greenery before it even comes to the property line. So my guess is yes, but the city hasn't been taken care of, I have. So, I want to say it's theirs, but...
We take care of that little piece right across the street. Tell them stop
Right,
weed
yeah.
eating for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't think, any questions to the applicant or anything? Okay, any member of the audience who'd like to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone in opposition? Okay, staff recommendations.
Mr. President, just one other note in terms of the setback requirements for all of these lots. It'd be a minimum front of 8 foot, maximum front setback of 20, minimum side of 5, and a minimum rear of 20. So those are the dimensions that would have to go on the final plat to show this is what's buildable and what's not in terms of, yep.
What's front and what's rear?
Pardon me?
What's front and what's
Spring
rear?
Branch will be the front lot line.
Okay, just checking.
And it's in the staff report, so. Yeah, so staff recommends approval contingent on the conditions being met in the packet, which includes granting the variance relief referenced.
One question, Ricky, sorry. Is there a recommendation as far as the hardship that's recommended for the variance on the curved radial portion?
At the intersection?
Yes, because this is...
Well, I think the hardship is it is existing.
Okay.
It's not like they're putting in laying out a new subdivision, they're going into an area that's already... Yep.
Fair, just want to make sure that we're covered as far as granting a variance, but I would argue that this meets the letter and wouldn't even need a variance personally, because it's curved and it meets that radial, but that's just my personal opinion, and Commissioner.
Yeah, I didn't, the proposed plan didn't have the radius and everything, so, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just the nature of infill development.
Yes, absolutely.
To deal with these kinds of oddities. Sure.
And our comprehensive plan recommends, our housing study recommends infill development as much as possible, so.
Appreciate your investment.
Okay, any other discussion?
Move for approval, subject to staff conditions.
A motion and a second, all in favor? And that's unanimous. Okay, committee reports. Okay, staff comments.
No, sir?
Anything for the good of the commission?
Yeah, a laser pointer costs like $20.
It's on the list, it's probably on Amazon or...
I can't even see it.
What color, red or green? This or that?
Anyway, and then when you're moving the cursor, it's like, I'm lost.
What if we had screens?
So when we broadcast, the people are seeing that map when we
Yes,
refer to
they have
it.
different camera angles.
But Councilor Trumbull brings up a good point. Can we get this TV on as well so we can see?
We can't. We're trying.
It's a work in progress.
We're trying.
Well, the laser pointer's not hard. That one's easy, right? How about a ruler? I will buy one. Yeah, a wooden pointer even. That would work.
Get one of those old projectors, overhead projectors, put your stuff on.
I like the pacing back and forth, that's fun.
Okay, so I have something.
Uh-oh.
And it's no big deal, but it's kind of a big deal. We seem to be getting a lot of incomplete applications right now. And, we think it's going to meet the setback, we think it's going to do this, we don't know if it's going to do that. We got to have that information, and whether it's you guys telling the applicant, this is incomplete because of ABC, this is what we have to know, this is the zoning code, or whether you hand them the code and say you have to read this and make sure that the application meets it.
Yeah.
Because we can't trust. I mean, we can, but it's not really
Oh, I
our job.
understand.
Our job is to have all the information and to make decisions based on that. So we need to get more complete applications.
Absolutely, sir.
Well said.
Great.
Anything else for the good of the commission?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Let's go.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Pull out.